Hi, Winers. Welcome back. Happy Thirsty Thursday. It's your girl, Pete. And I have a very special guest all the way here from Los Angeles, California, Rachel Campbell. And this was kind of planned, but kind of unplanned. She's like, I'm coming to visit you. And I was like, do you want to be on the pod? No pressure. But you probably felt pressure. Did you feel pressure?
I didn't feel pressure. I was just like, oh my God, what do I talk about? Am I interesting?
You're so interesting.
Thank you.
Yes, you're so interesting. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity. We got to talk about, obviously, the strike. We're going to be talking about that. And Rachel's going to be so much more educated than I'm going to be on it because I've been out of it for so long. But she does want me to make sure that there's a disclaimer that, like, she's not a writer. She's not an actor. She does not understand the actual, like, nuances of the contracts.
Yeah, I'm not a contract lawyer either. I know. I do always joke. My cousin's a lawyer. I'm always like, well, I did do, 7 seasons of The Good Wife twice, so I feel like I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
And then
That
she,
counts.
with her law degree, is like, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you.
Honestly, okay, we're going to get into all the things you worked on, but like Grey's Anatomy, you're practically a doctor. Station 19, you're practically a firefighter.
And a paramedic.
Like a captain.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you don't know me, I'm being facetious. I do not believe I'm an actual doctor, but
Yes. Yes, you do. You tell me that all the time.
Have you seen those memes that are like, I was in an airplane and someone said, is there a doctor here? And I jumped right up. Thank God for 15 seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, I have. That's you.
That's me, except that I actually worked on it. So
You would know how to spread the blood evenly. You wouldn't know how to like stop the bleeding.
I think it was interesting the blood was not forming the way I had put it on an outfit and confused about why.
About why? Yeah.
I feel like I might know a few things. We worked with real medical professionals on their shows, so
basically we're in charge of people's costumes, which is their everyday wardrobe that they wear on set as a TV show. People are very sensitive when we use the word wardrobe.
yeah.
Which I don't care.
Yeah, but people get weird about it.
People get weird about it. So costume, even if you're in like literally the sweatpants and the shirt I'm wearing, that's called a costume because you're playing a character on a show. So we're in the costume department. We met on a show called Lucifer. You're actually still in my phone as Rachel Costumes
No.
Lucifer.
When you called me, when you picked me up from the airport, it said, Paige, Lucifer's Costumes. And I was like,
I love that.
I should change that.
That's so special for us. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to change that. I like
I have a lot of people saved that way. And then I finally have to change that once I've worked on like 4 projects with them.
Right. Well, because it gets complicated because you can be on a full-time show or you can just be meeting someone and just working with them like one day. It's
Yeah.
contract work, like freelance work kind of thing. So I could have met you one day and then never seen you again, but we just fell in love and
You never got rid of me.
here we are. And
Yeah.
you're visiting me in Houston. So basically there's a trailer costumer, there's set costumer, there's like
Office customers,
office costumers, there's
shoppers.
principal costumers, shoppers, assistant, designers.
Supervisors.
Yeah, and now you're a
Coordinators.
supervisor too.
I did start supervising this last year, which basically there's a lot of management involved in that.
paperwork.
Paperwork, budgeting, which I love that part. The managing emotions it's real fun.
But it's less on your feet and
Yeah. There's a lot more like sitting at a desk and regular hours, which I'm sure I'll mention 45 times in this podcast during the strike, how long people on set work. Everyone, this is every department. Like by the end of one of my shows I worked on for 3 years, I was averaging 15, 16-hour days, 5 or 6 days a week
typically
for 10 months of the year.
you just have no life.
And then I took a month where I basically slept for a month. And then the last month off, I would do fun things and social events.
On doctor's appointments.
And doctor appointments
Things
that I
that
would
you
put
have
off
to
for a
get in.
year. Yeah.
I know, obviously, we did Grey's Anatomy together. We did Station 19 together, Lucifer. Can you name drop some other amazing, fantastic shows that you've worked on?
Yeah, I mean, I worked on Pen 15 on
Okay.
Hulu. That was really fun. Of course, now I'm drawing a blank as if I've never worked on a
do
show
this
ever.
all the time.
What else did I work on?
Because it feels like every day to us.
Yeah.
Right? People are like, name an actor that you worked with. And I'm like, I'm an actor. I work with actors.
Who? Yeah. No. I just did a Nickelodeon show.
Okay.
It's called Aaron and Aaron. I don't know if anybody would watch that in this demographic, but you never know. Maybe you have a kid. I did Reno 911.
Okay.
It's fun.
And then you used to do a lot of commercials.
I did commercials for 10 years. So that was a big part of my life and career. I started in production, accidentally fell into costuming world, and then took off. I did music videos for years.
I always wanted to do a music video, and then everyone would just tell me like it's a literal nightmare to do it.
No, music videos are really fun to like jump into and do here and there, but they're not a way to make money. Like you can't live off of them.
Right.
Because
But aren't they like literally round the clock? Like a music video is like 32 hours you're working.
I did a 9 Inch Nails music video that I think I worked 26 hours. Yeah. And then I did a bunch with another artist that I'm not going to mention right now because I'll probably tell some funny stories about him. So I don't really want them to know who it was. But I did a bunch of his music videos, and he had like kids and stuff. So he was a little more, okay, let's call it at 12. Let's call it at normal. Yeah. And he's not like in a band. It was just him. So that was easier because we didn't have to get, and I think he had been pretty well established that he didn't have to do, he could kind of call it.
Mm-hmm.
But those were always really fun to do.
Okay.
And especially when I was younger, it was like exciting to say I worked on that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like nobody really cared if I did 45 Toyota or Allstate commercials. Not that I'm doing the job for people to care, but when you're 23,
Right.
you're like, it's exciting to say that I worked on this.
Yeah. I feel like I've kind of lost it a little bit. Like people will be like, what shows?
Oh, no, I
The
won't.
only notable one that I'm like still very excited that I did was honestly Mank, the movie Mank that I did, the like 1930s black and white or 40s black and white with David Fincher.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool. Like that's something cool to have on your resume.
Yeah.
And Euphoria, of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess Grey's Anatomy, but like
We're very proud to work for Grey's Anatomy.
no, it's cool because everyone knows of it.
Everyone knows
like,
it. Yeah.
It's so the costumes are so boring.
Yeah, they're in
in
scrubs.
medical and scrubs all day every day. So it just wasn't very fun. It was fun to work with you.
Well, yeah, the crew was great.
Crew was great.
And that's a big thing too,
And
I
the
think.
cast was great.
I think that's the thing that I realized more into my career. At first, I just wanted to work on cool projects. Like I always kept thinking, how fun would it be to work on Game of Thrones? And now I'm like, oh, how horrible would it be to work 45 night shoots in a row?
They do 6
And
days in a row of night shoots.
Yeah, 60 days of night shoots.
Fuck.
And then
off.
freezing cold and the amount of people in those shows, you're just almost a number. I mean, I'm sure they're lovely. I don't know these people, but they don't film in Los Angeles, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But by the end, I'm just like, I don't really care the show I'm working on so much as long as I'm working with good people. And I like to do creative things. So like, I would say like the kids show I just did was one of the funnest I've ever worked on because I got to do so many different creative things.
Okay.
We dressed a mini horse every week.
Oh my god.
So that was really fun, like having to come up with really cool, how are we going to dress this mini horse as a Mexican wrestler? And we had to come up with ideas and brainstorm and work it out. Whereas, yeah, I'm probably not really watching that show, or most people I know are not watching that show unless they have children, but it's fun.
But so
you know?
fun.
And yeah, I just care. I also like working on a show now that has a good schedule, as boring of an answer as that is.
So for 15 years, you've been working an average of 12 to 18-hour days.
Yeah,
Basically.
it's hard.
It's important information for the strike and stuff. That
Yeah,
I get
the best is the amount of people that are just aware now that I might say I'm coming to your birthday. Will I make it? We'll see.
My intentions are to come, but like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be tired.
Yeah.
I might not.
Or I
make
might
the shoot.
literally can't leave this. I can't leave set.
Yeah. Like I could have left set. I got permission, but now it's there's cars on set and
Yeah. And like it was a little easier when you're full time on a show, which Paige kind of stepped on. Like you could be hired as a full employee, like a weekly employee. You work no matter what, 5 days a week. Again, you never know what your day is going to look like, but at least you know the routines of the show and the ADs and the actors and the other costumers. Or you can be hired as a daily employee where you kind of jump in when either two options, either to like replace someone if someone's like sick or has doctor appointments or is on maternity leave,
yeah.
or I've done those a few times, or you could be hired as a daily. The biggest reason why is when we have a lot of extra cast, whether it's a really big regular principal cast day or, oh, we have 400 extras today. And this is how I met Paige. I think there was like 450 extras on a day at like Grand Central Station. Was that our first
Yeah,
day?
it was.
And again, this is before our Union Station. Which one's at LA? Can you tell we have no public transportation in Los Angeles?
She asked me. We were driving around today in Houston. She's like, "What's the public transportation like?" And I was like,
I don't know. Yeah, that sounds really ignorant, but I think it's Union Station. Grand Central's in New York. Hi. I didn't finish college. Union Station, which is beautiful if anyone's ever in Los Angeles. Oh, there's Grand Central Market down the street. So maybe it is great. Okay,
I don't know.
Cut this. Cut this from the pod.
No.
Anyway, we were working at, how about this? So I met Paige. We were working at a train station. We were working at a train station and they had to do like a scene where the main actor is like running through. And this is how little, as a day player that I was, I had never seen a script. I had no idea who I was dressing. I just show up on the day.
All the time. But
Yeah.
my mates would be my best friends. They would be like, "What show did you work on today?" And I'm like, "Well, this show." They're like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I mean, I literally don't know. I mean, we were at a train station.
Yeah.
So it was something to do with the train."
So I would get there and the key costumer or an assistant costume designer or a designer, depending on how the show is run and how big the show is, would say, "Hi, so you're going to dress these 400 background. We want like 50 of them to look like business types, like suits and business attire. We want like 50 of them to look like just regular everyday people."
Mm-hmm.
Then they tell you like, it's winter in Los Angeles, so cold, but not like Chicago. So you're
But imagine filming it in the dead of heat.
right.
Summer.
You're always filming it a few months off, so it's never
So-
the right temperature.
Mhm.
And then, so I just dress people. Literally, they come up in a line of 400 people, and there's like 4 or 5 of us just dressing them. And then we go to set, and again, I don't know anybody on the set, and I just am looking over, and I see Paige, and I'm like, "Hi, want to be my friend?
Want to hang out?
Want to hang out?" And then I don't think she ever got rid of me.
No. And then it's kind of like, again, contract work, so it's kind of word of mouth.
Yeah,
Um,
all of that is,
so
and that's
you-
the whole industry. That's not just costumes.
the whole industry, like you just go up, you meet people, you get their names, you put them in, so you're gonna remember them. Rachel Costumes, Lucifer.
Yeah.
And so when somebody texts me and says, "Hey, can you work tomorrow?" and I'm like, "Oh, I can't, but I know somebody good who can," and then I'll
Yeah.
forward the number, and that's kind of how word of mouth. And
Or people will full on like text me and say, "Hi, we're interviewing, and we just interviewed a Paige Crutcher, and she worked on the show you worked with. Do you like her?"
oh my god,
I mean, they've never done that with me with you, but
Yeah.
I mean, multiple times that would happen.
yeah,
So it is all just who you know, your work ethic, how you present yourself. So even a day playing job could lead. I had multiple times where I would be hired just to work the day, and then they'd say, "Are you available the rest of the week?"
mm-hmm.
"Hey, how about next week?" "Hey, wait, are you available?"
That's what happened to me on Grey's Anatomy. That's what
Yeah.
happened to me on Euphoria. Because I honestly did always prefer to be a day player because
Oh,
I
I
really
hate it.
valued. No, I loved it. It did give me anxiety going into a new situation
Yeah.
every single day or week or whatever that was. But I really liked knowing that I could still have somewhat of a life. Like I did kind of stick to that. Except I did Euphoria, which was 9 months of my life. And that was so hard. We worked
Yeah.
16, 17 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. I actually
Of
had a
course.
great experience.
Shows like that will always be one that you're like, I'm so glad I did it.
I'm so glad I did it.
It's so creative and like fulfilling, and you get really inspired, but then by the end you're exhausted. And I'm sure, again, I don't know what it's like to work in another department, but I can only assume that's how they all feel.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Okay, let's talk
Okay.
fun, great stories,
Mhm.
or bad. Like, what's the most disgusting or worst thing you've ever had to do on set? So we're dealing with costumes people. That means socks. Down to the socks is a costume. Down to their underwear is a
Yeah.
costume. A sex scene, they could be naked.
Sex
but...
scenes are really hard. I've had to do a lot of those on shows. I worked on a Netflix show, so they could be fully
Okay.
naked. It was, so sometimes on certain networks like HBO or whatever, they could be fully naked. Also, it's all in, again, we'll go into contract stuff. That's all down to an actor's contract of how much they're allowed
Right.
or comfortable showing. So whenever you're working on one of those, like a streaming service or an HBO or one of those, actresses will just be topless, or actors, you might see a butt, or,
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say on this podcast. You might see many things.
Amazing. It's kind of like a Netflix. Anything goes.
Okay. But it's also dependent on the actor or whatever. So even though maybe on camera, I'll say this. I worked on L Word.
Okay.
So this is a lot of women having a lot of sex.
Mm-hmm.
All these actors are lovely. They've been doing this. They're professional. They get it. They're naked and they feel comfortable because they've obviously, or will work up to that or whatever. But usually still in the scene, there's only a cameraman and me as a costumer.
For sure.
Or whoever the costumer
It's
is.
called a closed set because typically on a normal set, like let's say Euphoria, Grey's Anatomy, there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 actors working, maybe 10 background actors. Everyone's looking at a monitor, making sure the continuity looks good, the hair and makeup looks good. Even in a Doesn't have to be not a sex scene, but if it is going to be a sex scene, they'll say like, okay, this is a closed set, only mandatory people.
Well, and mandatory will get shut down to even just, they'll kick out a lot of people that actually consider mandatory, because for safety reasons, they started introducing, what are they called? It's like a therapist that works with them. Why can't I think of the name of that? Intimacy coordinator. That's the name.
That's the word we were looking for.
So anyway, they now hire intimacy coordinators.
So anyway,
segue. I would say honestly, it's usually the one camera op, the sound guy, and one costumer. And the costumer throws in robes and whatever. And I remember working on a set once where the actress was awesome. She was like, "Oh, I'm fine. Like, it's fine. You don't have to give me a robe every time." But it's not just for her comfort. It's also for the crews, because there's crew members that have to walk around and, be with them. So it just depends on the show. And then I've worked on plenty of network shows that their sex scenes, I'm putting that in quotes, are more, people are dressed. They're wearing bra and underwear, they're wearing boxers, or they're even wearing, they might be fully dressed of sweatpants underneath that sheet that you don't see.
Right.
So they hire intimacy coordinators now to really work with them. And I think it's awesome. I know
smart.
They help them make sure they're comfortable. They rehearse with them. They now provide what a lot of the times costumers used to provide, a lot of nipple covers and thongs and cock socks. And that's a technical term. That's not.
That sure is.
A Paige and I already say. And shibus, those are, Cinqo, I'm sure you're interested to hear about a shibu. It is literally a piece of fabric that is sticky taped for a woman. It stickies at the top of, like right under your belly button, and it goes as like a thong all the way. So you're not seeing that, but they're like nude colored.
And they're nude colored, and it's so small. It's so thin.
Yeah, it's so thin. I mean, honestly, a lot of actors I work with, just after 3 takes, just take it off.
Yeah.
It gets in the way. But I would say that's one of the weirdest things I do is I've had to glue shibus onto women's private parts.
Yeah. I've had to help somebody put a cock sock on.
Yeah.
It was not like a main actor. I don't even remember who it was. And I'm not even trying to be like secretive about this.
No, yeah.
But no, yeah. I got a call from, the base camp, AD, and which is like
base camp is like where all of the trailers like for actors are, and then there's a makeup and hair trailer and a costume trailer.
Yeah, and they were like, "Hey, like, can you go to whatever character names, or like background artist number 3 or something like that?" And I'm like, "Cool." So I went, and they were like, "What is this?" And I was like,
"I hope you put that on.
I'm gonna come in. I'm going in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come in. This is how we do it."
And I just explain like a shibu for a woman. They also have these ones now that are like fully fabric for men, and they have a wire in them. So they almost look like a nude maxi pad almost. And like the front is fully coverage, like nude.
Okay.
And then the back is just like a really hard, like almost feels like a bra wire or like a hanger wire. And it is a full thong to go up a man. Like, so, but it holds better than just a cock sock. Anyway, there's so many weird things at some shows. I know friends that worked on, what is that new, like, Jake Johnson show with the 70s porn show? I don't know. It's on Stars. It's like an advertisement. I hear it's great. But they had to do a bunch of like fake pubic hair on people. So that's a full, there's so many things you have to do.
So weird.
Anyway, so that's always, I would say, was one of the weirdest things I have to do that people are always intrigued by. But I always look at it, again, I'm a lawyer and a doctor. I look at it as like, I'm a medical professional.
Absolutely.
This is just my job. So I don't even think of it when I'm doing that as a weird thing.
Yeah.
I've had to also, we work really hand in hand with the sound department, especially with women, to wire their clothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes wires have to go into very intimate places.
Right.
So I've helped a lot of actors put wires in weird crevices.
That can go on your resume.
That is, I have said that to Paige. I don't know how I would ever leave this industry and say, how do I explain what I do? I put wires in weird crevices.
Oh my God. You're professional and discreet.
There you go.
One of the grossest things I had to do, which like maybe in relation to like a cock sock is like not that big of a deal, but like, okay, so actors, change their clothes in their trailer and we're responsible for going to get the clothes. Obviously that's their costume. So we either send it out for laundry or maybe it's a delicate item, we're just spraying it, to be worn the next day, we're bagging it, maybe it's never going to be worn again. Like there's so many things that obviously come into play with that. But for me, I never understood as a woman wearing like a costume underwear, how you just leave it like on the ground, because there's hampers. They can put
You clearly have lingerie bags too for
yeah. So then we
bras
come in and
elsewhere.
we just grab that, and then we go to the trailer. But if you're not doing that, I have to pick your
thong.
up with some stuff in it,
Mhm.
period stuff,
Oh yeah, I've washed a lot of period blood out of underwear.
or I can't like what are we hammered right now? What is the word? Discharge.
Oh, that's a thing.
Lots of
Yeah.
discharged underwear that I'm like,
I don't want actors to feel bad because they can't help these things.
no, of course,
But it's always like a risk. And also, I've worked with tons of wonderful actors who are apologetic and
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, I was really sweaty because it's 105 degrees out while we're shooting.
my
winter.
point is, if it's in the hamper or in the
Yeah.
lingerie bag, I would never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would just put it in the wash.
Yeah. I had a
But if it's
customer
on the
once-
ground and there's discharge in your underwear, and why did you leave it there? Because I have to pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, in general, a lot of customers get angry when people don't hang their clothes or put it back in a bag because it's a little disrespectful. But you know who
It'll be
would
perfect.
never do that?
Who? Do you say, is it Kajo? Is that his
That's
name?
how I say it.
I've always said Kojo.
Kojo.
Okay,
Well,
so
there's a D in there.
Kojo.
Oh, maybe it is. We should call him and ask. Should I call him right now?
Kinda.
That's Paige. Can you pronounce your last name for
I
us?
am gonna ask him to be on the podcast.
You should.
I think I've said this before. He's actually the reason why I got into costuming. He used to work, or I used to work at a restaurant where him and his families were regulars at, and that's how I even knew of this industry. I didn't know of it before. But he worked on Station 19 and ended up, obviously that's where Rachel worked. And I after being in the industry for 4.5 years, I never got a chance to work with him until Station 19. Yeah.
I worked with him before you.
Yeah. I had never had the chance to work with him. And I remember when I got to set, it was all weird in COVID times.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think I had to go to set or something, but I saw him pull in and get him out of his car. And I was like, I got to go over and see him. I got to go say hi.
Probably the most beautiful human.
He's the most beautiful human. And I knocked on
And
the
inside
door.
and out, by the way.
Yeah.
I said I
That's
wasn't
a
going to name
great-
drop any actors, but we're talking about Boris.
I mean, it's all positive things. Like, I
Yeah,
can't
but
say
also
a negative thing about it.
I might be vice president of his fan club, so
You have that authority.
I have the authority.
But I remember I went over and like knocked on his trailer door, and I was like, oh my God, kind of giddy about it because I hadn't seen him in years. I hadn't to that restaurant anymore. And because it was COVID, we're not supposed to obviously touch actors, be within 6 feet. And
Well, they said that, but then they were like, "Can you fix his shirt?" Oh, how am I supposed to do that when I'm not allowed to touch them?
right.
So those rules went out
Very,
pretty
very
quickly.
strange. Yeah.
I had to touch them
But
with a mask and a face shield on.
Yeah, but like they didn't want you on set just like sitting by each other in a chair for no reason. And so I was standing outside the trailer and I like backed up like 15 feet because I don't know, I wanted everyone to be being respectful to him. I'm at his trailer. He opened the door and he's like,
He hugged you immediately.
oh, the biggest hug. And I was like, no, we're not supposed to touch. No. And he's like,
His joke, like I did. So as a trailer costumer for years, basically you're the first person in. You set everybody's trailer with their full costume head to toe, and then if they're in multiple scenes in different costumes, because we don't shoot in order.
Yeah.
For spoiler alert.
spoiler alert.
Usually we shoot, I would say, by location almost. So like if you're watching a show and you're like, oh, there's all these scenes of a family at this house on multiple Christmases, let's say, or something weird. That means we've shot those usually all in 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
So
like, we went to the train station.
Yeah.
For those 3 days, but they're really like days and days and days apart.
yeah, so we have to switch everyone's costumes and whatever. So that's as a trailer person, I steam it all, I set it in their room, I wrap it out of their room, I write it up, which is a whole other continuity thing that no one probably cares about, but that's a lot of work. But I used to always joke that when I would clear Boris's room, I couldn't even tell if he had worn his costume. I was like, it's cleaner and smells better than when I put it in here.
And it would be hung in the
It's
same
hung
way that you
So
dropped
pristinely.
it off.
So I would text, literally my first few days on that show, I would text Liz, the set costumer, and say, was Boris in costume on set? And she's like, yeah, duh. I would have texted or called you. And I'm like, there's no way these clothes haven't been worn. I'm like, is he an action figure? Does he sweat? I hope he listens to this. I'm pretty sure I told him that he was perfect many times.
And
So-
he is. And his wife and kids are perfect.
Oh, yeah.
The whole family.
The whole
So
family's
we love
beautiful.
you. Shout out.
But then on the other hand, I've heard many a story about horrible circumstances of some actors and some trailer costumers.
There's been so many.
I know. There's some
Go
gross.
Don't let me stop.
I didn't work on this show, but I know a friend who worked on a show that won't be named,
Okay.
where they had to clean up some socks after a male actor had ejaculated in them. The fact that you know that story too, I really hope it's the same costumer that told you that story as told me. And that's happened multiple times. Let's really hope that that's a...
That is so disrespectful.
I know, it's really bad.
Put your own socks, man.
Yeah. Not the
You gotta
costume
do
sucks. Yeah.
Or, because depending on I don't know what this, well, I do know, but let's say this was like a firefighter. Bring your own black socks.
Sure, whatever. But there are certain characters that their socks are known, or
Yeah.
even if they're not known, maybe like in that scene, who knows? Maybe they were like pajamas and they weren't wearing shoes. So you see their
It's
socks.
part of the costume.
So if we see them in those pajamas again, they have to be in the same socks. Because you will notice as a viewer, if the guy is sitting on the couch with his feet up and he's wearing like, I don't know, neon green socks, and then he walks to the kitchen and puts his feet up again and all of a sudden they're blue. It's been 5 seconds. For you, for us, that was shot 2 weeks apart.
Movie magic.
Oh my God. Traumatic set costumer position was once when I filmed a scene of an actor. He was like grabbing his keys at his house, which was on stage, was not a real house. Sorry, spoiler alert. And he grabs like his coat and his scarf and he's putting it on right by the door, opens the door to walk out, right? So then like 2 weeks later, we're filming an outside of a house where he's walking to his car.
Yeah.
We shot like 3 takes where he was holding the coat. And this is my bad. I was obviously exhausted and had things. And I realized after 2 takes, oh my God, fuck, he's supposed to be wearing the coat. Because for me right there and everyone sitting there is like, oh, whatever, it's a coat. But if you're watching that as in order, all of a sudden, where did his coat go? Why is it off?
Yeah.
He just put it on, he walked outside, it's off. Like, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
You'll notice that as a viewer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's something I noticed on TV and movies before I started working was like, that person's necklace was inside under their shirt before, and now it's on top. That's part of our job. To make sure.
I worked with an actress once, and she was notorious for one day deciding that she just didn't want to wear an outfit anymore. And I was like, well, blank. You filmed all these other scenes before and after this scene wearing this costume, so you can't now all of a sudden not be wearing that. She would fight it so much that the writers finally would write in things where they would say, like other actors in the scene, like characters would say, did you change? And she'll be like, yeah, I spilled on my blouse in the car.
I can't wait to ask you after this who this plot is. Are you serious?
Yeah. Thank God on that one, I wasn't the trailer customer because I would have had a heart attack. Also, shout out to all trailer customers. They're probably the unseen heroes.
They are.
They work really fucking hard.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it.
They work the longest hours. I'm not just saying that because I did it. You're literally the first one in and almost always leave at the same time as the rest of the customers, which in general, customers are some of the last people besides Teamsters. Really shout out to those people.
Shout out to Teamsters. Teamsters are the drivers.
They drive all the
trailers.
trucks. But that sounds like that really belittles them. They have to do so
no,
much.
Of course.
No, I know.
Like, imagine we're going to like Malibu Beach to film tomorrow, but we're leaving Burbank, California, which I don't know.
If you're not from LA, that's far.
That's far, but they have to go the night before or that morning.
Really early that morning, 2 a.m.
However many actors we're going to be working with tomorrow, plus the crafty, plus the
they drive all those
trailer, plus everything. I mean, they're up. They don't sleep.
And then they leave again that night to wrap it all out.
Yeah.
It's hard. And they're always like
by the way, we love our job.
We love our job. I'm just saying
But to be honest with you, and I've talked about this a lot, that was one of the main reasons why I was like so excited to make this new change of like moving to Houston. I was like, but I have this job, I have my family, I have my friends. Why would I change? And I was like, I knew from the day I got in the union, my designer, who I will name her, Allison Freer, who is a good friend of mine and lovely, when she was like, hey, we're getting you in the union. This is going to be great for you, but definitely already have a backup option because you don't want to do this. She's like, you don't want to do this forever. And I was like, wow, this is so fun. I'm working in Hollywood at first,
Well, that is
and it quickly wears off.
Everyone that ever meets me, and I don't blame them. I thought the same thing is always like, that's amazing. Your job's so glamorous. And sometimes I know they don't mean harm. I don't want to sound like a dick, but I get a little frustrated with that sometimes because I feel like when you put glamorous next to my job name, you think like maybe this is just my own connotation. You think that person doesn't work hard. And I'm like, yeah, I've been on my feet and haven't sat down in 16 hours. And then I have to go home, shower, go right to bed. I don't have even time usually to eat dinner.
No.
And be up again at 3 a.m. in order to do this all again.
And yes,
So
people are going to say, people can say you can switch careers.
Sure, but I've trained and worked really hard to get where I am, and I really enjoy a lot of our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's was a huge thing. Like IATSE, which is the huge umbrella that holds multiple unions under it. They were in contract negotiations, is it 2 years ago? And this is a big thing. We almost went on strike because of this.
I mean, we should have.
That's its own whole podcast.
Yeah. For sure.
But basically, one of the big things was better hours, better turnarounds. We have these things called turnarounds that basically legally, by the time we clock off and the time we clock back in, we have to have a certain amount of time. And our union and hair and makeup have the shortest, or one of the shortest. Teamsters have the shortest turnaround time. They have 8 hours, which is absurd. I don't even know how they're driving all these people on these trucks. I don't know how they survive. We have 10-hour turnaround, which I already think is also absurd, so I don't even know how Teamsters survive. Most people have 12. Most unions have 12.
But it's because, and I'm not justifying this at all, but it's because we have to be there before everyone else to set the rooms or finish up laundry, get the clothes from the dry cleaner.
I was always, as a trailer customer there, it's like a union role. It's so weird. 18 minutes before the first actor came in. So that in theory, their costume is supposed to be in their room before they get there. Of course, there's going to be stipulations or changes or weird things that happen, or certain actors who like options, so they come in later.
I love doing a fitting at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I love that. When there's no lights, it's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, I feel like we could go on for hours about that, and I want to continue because I think people are going to really like it. However, I do really want to take advantage of, because, yes, I'm still in the union. I still pay my dues to keep up with. It's something that I don't want to lose. And I think shame on me. I'm a little out of, like, exactly what is going on between the writers and the actors. It's complicated, and because I'm not actively working in it every day, and I just obviously still have good friends, like, thankfully I'm a little still in tune. But I wanted to kind of lean on you to, if you wouldn't mind, educate myself and people who, because honestly, people know that I've done it before. My trainer today was like, what is going on with the writer and the actor strike? And I'm like, oh my God, it's so complicated. I'm filming an episode. Like, listen to it afterwards. I can't even tell you now. So right now, the writers are on strike, and SAG AFTRA, the actors, just went on strike. So writers have been on strike for...
It's May 1st.
June 1st, July 1st. Oh my God, it's almost August. Yeah. Okay. For a long time.
Well, I will preface this again with, I am not in the WGA, I am not in SAG, and I am not a contract lawyer.
Yeah. So this is all, I don't want to say opinion, but it's just like not actual hard factual.
Well, we didn't talk about this much. We talked mostly about actors, other designers and costumers, but we work so close with so many different wonderful people, first of all, on set. And there's so much that happens before we even get to set, and there's so much that happens after we leave set.
Yeah.
In general, I would say what you average about 500 people work on one television show. Now, usually on set, I would say it's like 150 is an average number.
Okay.
That's crew members, not actors.
Right.
So that's a lot of people involved in making a show. So like writers and actors are obviously a wonderful, huge part. But I always say you can't make a show without any of these unions or guilds.
Yeah.
If they could get rid of one of these unions, they would have.
Right.
Filming has been happening. I think they just celebrated like the 100-year mark for 2020 was the 100-year mark for like Warner Brothers.
Wow.
That's awesome. So, I mean, it's a long-standing thing. They would have gotten rid of one of our unions if it existed, and actually only more have come. Because back in the day, there were no special effect artists. Even like editors were a whole different process than now.
Okay.
I have so much respect for those people. I don't know how they even do that job.
Yeah.
Anyway, but writers and actors, I would say. So writers, every contract usually, I believe most of us are a 3-year contract.
Okay.
And we won't talk really about IATSE. We can bring up a few of that, but that's a whole other thing. But IATSE as a whole is most of the unions, the only people not in it. And again, I'm sure someone will correct me, but definitely not SAG, writers, directors, producers, and transpo.
Right. IATSE is like costumers, props,
electric, grips, cameramen, craft services, which is the people that
greens, because the trees are fake too.
Oh, they're always hot too. The greens
are always hot.
I know.
They're a little like dirty.
They have to like carry heavy trees, and
they
got tattoos and Sorry, I'm objectifying all the greensmen I've ever worked at with.
That's a good last.
Painters, construction workers. They build all the sets. There's
Okay.
I'm
So different
makeup,
kind of
hair,
unions. Yeah, of course.
ADs. Oh no, ADs are in the Directors Guild. Wow. Hello.
It's the wine.
I work here. It's
It's
the wine. Anyway, so long story short, basically, IATSE as a whole, all of those unions have one big contract negotiation. But all these guilds have their own negotiation. So it's about every 3 years, I would say, is the good average to say that each person goes up against the AMPTP. And I'm saying goes up against because I feel like it's a David and Goliath
It's
situation.
a war.
And the AMPTP is basically the big networks. And again, I believe there's 12. This is me.
I'm not going to hold you.
I didn't research before doing this podcast.
Yeah.
But it's like Warner Brothers and Sony and ABC, Disney, and Universal, Paramount. And now it includes Netflix, Apple,
Streaming
Amazon, Hulu,
Disney Plus.
and basically, so the writers were going on strike or went on strike first. Their contract was up in May, and again, this is a whole union thing in the world. You could basically go on strike when you no longer have a contract. So their contract expired on May 1st. They called the strike. They basically knew it was going to happen. I think we all knew it was going to happen, and then they went on strike. So basically, they were then striking and picketing in front of most of these big networks. So writers couldn't work unless they wanted to be in SCAP.
Writers for
Television, film.
the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you were on, so doesn't mean you couldn't film a little bit.
If there was already scripts written, but there's no revisions that can take place.
Correct. Now I don't know if anybody remembers the 2007 writer's strike, when classic shows that we thought were going to be huge hits like Heroes and Lost went super downhill really fast.
Yeah.
Because even though they had some scripts written, they filmed those. But I've worked in TV now for years. I don't think I've ever shot a first draft show or script as is. And
No, there's always edit.
There's always huge, after a table read especially, that's when the actors and the directors and the writers get together and they read it out loud, basically. And they see what works and they take notes and they are open to, honestly, it's really great. They're really open to other people's ideas. Like, it's very collaborative, the industry we work in. And so the writers asked for a lot of big things that they deserve. And basically the AMPTP decided no.
And one of the main things, and we were talking about this last night, was, for example, filming or TV shows used to be how many episodes?
I believe like the normal was network shows. This is pre-streaming.
Yeah.
Was 22 for drama.
Okay.
And 25 for comedies.
So when you're a writer, you're contracted per
episode. So you get paid to write for an episode. Not like Paige and I were in the costumers union. We were paid per hour, whether we were weekly employees or daily employees. We got paid for every hour we were at work.
And we never had to sign any sort of non-disclosure, or not, sorry, we did.
No, yeah, excuse you.
Non-competes, I meant.
Non-competes, yeah.
Yeah, like, so I could work on 5 different shows in 1 week. I could work on Grey's Anatomy, I could work on Euphoria, it didn't matter.
You could hop around.
Right.
As a weekly employee, I don't know when you'd have the time, but you could. I remember I had a friend who worked Monday through Friday on a show, and then on the weekend she went and worked on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Because she was buying a house, she could do that.
Right.
Writers, yeah, you have non-competes. And again, I don't know all of the idiosyncrasies that go into that contract, but basically they were contracted to work on one show. So let's say you worked on a comedy like The Office or something. You can't then go and write for another comedy because they think you're going to steal the jokes and this is funny. And yeah, we didn't use that joke for this thing, but we might want to use that again. You can't now go put that on another show.
Right.
So I understand that, but they used to get paid. So most network shows that film 22 episode seasons are about 10 to 11 months of filming. I would say 10 months is a normal.
So that's a great chunk of time to
so you get paid
making money
for 10 months of the year. Well, now most shows, as we all know, and for the better, I think, storyline wise, and I'm sure, I would hope writers agree with that too. I think they get to tell more creative stories these days. They're 10 episodes for the year.
But it's pretty much still 9 or 10 months of shooting
Well,
time.
even if it's shorter, they're only on that show until the show comes back. So they can't then be like, well, I worked for 3 months on this show. I'm going to go hop over here to this show. So they're getting paid for half the amount of work, basically. Well, I mean, not the amount of work. They're getting paid for half their yearly salary to work just as much. It's crazy. And then that was one I know that they were working on, and I know that was a big one they were fighting back in the 2007 writer's strike, and that was a huge deal and why they went on strike. Now they're also fighting about residuals. So basically, when a show, let's say Friends, reaches 100 episodes, they can go into syndication.
Okay.
Obviously, if you still have cable, you could see Friends on TBS and TNT and I don't know what other networks even exist.
Yeah, USA, I don't know.
Whatever. Let's say you wrote season 1, episode 2 of Friends. You're the head writer, Paige. You get paid every time that show goes into syndication. So TBS aired season 1, episode 2 twice this year, and TNT aired it 4 times. So you get paid for all those times it airs as the writer, and same with actor and director, by the way. But when it went to streaming, there was no rules. And when streaming first happened, like Netflix, I think was one of the main, again, this is just my knowledge, I don't have on paper who started first, but I think Netflix was the first big streaming service. When they started streaming things, they were not getting, writers and actors weren't getting basically paid for Netflix acquiring Friends. And so they went into like, we need to figure out a system. And for years, all of these streaming services have said, well, we're too new. We don't know how this will work. We haven't been around like these other networks. And the writers and the actors have given them, and directors have given them a lot of leeway. Like, okay, you're right, you're new.
Well, we don't know how streaming services work.
How do we figure this out? What if streaming doesn't, what if it doesn't last? What if it's a fad? Well, I think we can all say now,
it's sticking around.
It's sticking around.
Pretty solid.
I'm pretty sure it killed the cable industry. And fuck you.
Yeah.
You can afford to pay your actors, your writers, your directors, your whole crew, by the way, but we'll get into us later.
Yeah.
So that was another thing they're fighting. And then I know they're fighting now really hugely AI. So writers are fighting, and again, should have a writer on here. He can really probably explain this to you, but I know they're hoping, instead of having 8 writers in the writer's room to write the script, what if we only hire 1 writer? And then we can have them, we can feed this show that's been now, we've had 8 seasons of the show. We'll feed it all into a computer. The AI can write this episode, and then the writer can go through and make a little few edits. And it's like, I don't know about you, even if you've never worked in television, but as a viewer, do you want to watch a show?
No.
There's no creativity. It's going to go back to like all these shows that felt like they were just like in a routine of the same exact storyline over and over again. It's not going to be creative. You're not going to get the big, huge shocker surprises like that person murdered that person. Like they're not going to come up with that stuff.
Right.
And then SAG, Screen Actors Guild, went on strike in July for a lot of the same things, residuals.
Which I want to make this very clear, and we'll probably mention it, but in SAG AFTRA, there are actors such as Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Margot Robbie, but also all of the background actors. Boris Kojo.
I think we need to have a whole podcast just about Boris.
I love it. Let's do it.
Anyway, continue.
When he comes on, I'll invite you. You can fly out. He can fly out. And his brother lives here. It'll be perfect. I ran into his brother one time at a bar in Washington, and I was like, I don't know you. I've never met you. Are you Boris's brother?
He probably thought you're some crazed fan or something, right?
I think so. And he's like, he did totally look at me weird. And I was like, I worked on Station 19 with him. I'm a costumer. And he's like,
yeah, then he calmed down probably. We need to text Boris before this podcast comes out. So
send him a photo.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, we talked about you a lot. Check it out. Okay, but I want to say it's like the little actors, but it's also the big actors. Yeah. So I know that a lot of people are like, well, these people are making so much money. Why are they out there striking?
Oh, even my mom said that to me. She's like, oh, like the actors need more money.
I think that people are a little confused. So we want to educate. And honestly, again, like you taught me a couple things last night. So I'm going to let you take the reins. But they're also fighting one for AI.
Oh, that's a big one that the actors are fighting is AI. So basically, especially background actors. That's one of the big ones that they're trying. So background actors work at Paige and I know.
We just talked about how we did a 400-person background scene at a train station. So there were probably 12 extra costumers hired for that day.
Yes.
And 12 extra hair and makeup. 12 extra props. More food, more catering.
Yeah, more crafty, more catering. So
that's all jobs.
That's a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
So basically what they want to do is, by the way, background actors get paid basically minimum wage to come in. And yes, it's not you're not having, I guess, to be super using your brain, I guess, for that job. But usually I always feel bad for background guys. They get treated like shit.
Yeah.
They have to stand in the elements.
Or they're sitting in a parking garage.
They
in
have
fumes waiting to be called to set for hours.
They work just as long of hours as we do. They're like herded like cattle, like treated not very great. They're handed like, here's some gummy bears instead of a full what we get, and they have to wear 4 winter coats when it's 105 degrees outside. Or like, I'll never forget, I had to do a job once where we were like working at a running track at a college. These background people had to run laps the entire day. We were there 14 hours filming multiple scenes. So then we had to change them and put them in different running clothes, and they had to run. And I looked at them and I thought, all the power to you, dude. I can't believe you have to do that. Or on Station 19, I had background firefighters. They had to do just as much training to beware the fire. They had to wear full-on turnouts.
Yeah.
They had to fight with fire and hoses and lift the shit. It's heavy, dude. It's a lot of work.
I worked on this show, Too Old to Die Young. It only did one season. Sure. A very interesting show. There was a soccer scene, and these background actors, it was like 109 degrees out in LA, running back and forth, doing soccer all day. And then we also had like stunt soccer players, right? The stunt people are the ones who are like...
Stunt people are in SAG, by the way.
I remember one of these background actors got basically recruited into like being more of with the stunt people. Like, the director liked him or whatever. He ended up getting literally roughed up like a stunts person. And I remember overhearing him talking to somebody like, I think I should be getting like a bump for that, for like being physically injured or to...
Well, because stunt people get paid a stunt salary. Because it's dangerous. And stunt people, just a little cool thing, every time they do a big stunt, like if they fall off a building, let's say, they get paid every time they do it. Not just for the day. They get paid above every time they have to do it. Yeah. Well, their job is really effing dangerous.
Very dangerous. Like life and death.
Yeah. And I always get a little bit like, I have a thing about actors who are like, I do my own stunts. I'm like, well, okay, you're taking a job away from someone, but okay, cool for you. And also, not only are you taking a job from a stunt person and then a makeup person and a wardrobe person who does all the stunt cost person's continuity, you're also now risking the
livelihood of the whole film.
Of the whole crew, because if something happens to you and you're put out of work, well, that's cool. You are usually probably fine. You're getting paid anyway, but the rest of us are.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, that's a segue. Oh, so background actors are paid nothing. Yeah. They have to, they work like everyone else. They come in, work all day, then they'll come back tomorrow. The next day, have to do the exact same thing again. Whatever. They get paid usually per hour or per day like we do. Well, these networks now want to use AI to pay them for 1 day's worth of work, which is basically, again, minimum wage. They're paying $200 for this guy to come in. They want to put them on a green screen and scan their body so that they can then put hundreds of these people. So let's say they hire 500 people to do this. They can then put them in digitally with CGI into any and all television and movies going forward and never pay them any residual
ever again.
Or use their likeness.
1 day of pay that they came in.
Also, by the way, then they can use them in anything, like even like literally anything. They could put them into something that person's not
doesn't
want
to be in.
Yeah. They can make them look naked. They can make them look...
That's not okay.
They could put them in a Nazi uniform. They could put them in wherever they want. And maybe that person's not comfortable with those things. Maybe that person only signs on to certain projects. Like,
wow.
How dare you?
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And
but honestly,
I'd never pay them again. So $200, and you could be used for the next 500 years of television.
Plus.
And they think that that's not crazy.
That's insane. And not to mention the fact that I mentioned earlier, you bring in 400 people, you hired all these X, Y, and Z.
Oh, yeah, you hired extra.
So that's also
members
taking
all our jobs away
from
Paige. And if that was a thing that existed 10 years ago, Paige and I might have never met.
Yeah, because there's no need to bring us in. We don't need to dress anyone because it's all digitalized. Yep.
It's gross.
So that's one thing.
There's a lot of funny memes and tweets about this. It's a horrible thing that's happening, and I respect all of these people that are fighting their asses off on these picket lines. I'll be out there as soon as I get back to Los Angeles, but there are funny memes you can read and joke about because you have to laugh in these trying times. But
if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
There was one thing that said that a certain network, and you can look into this yourself, lost
$18 billion
just yesterday
in 1 day.
And then someone did the math that means they could, everything SAG and writers are asking for, they can pay those unions that for the next 37 years. Just from yesterday, from that one network.
That's how ridiculous.
That's like, I don't know why they're just turning this all down, but my assumption would be they don't want to set the precedent. Because then they think the next union will ask for it, and then the next guild will ask for it, and then they'll just have to keep paying more and more. But I'm just getting really fucking sick of a CEO getting paid $50 million a year and telling me that has never been on set and doesn't know what I do, that I'm not worth this. It's
Right.
gross.
It's really gross.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to highlight too is, yes, there are these big actors out on the picket lines, and you might be saying, why? Like, you make so much money. And Rachel put it into good perspective last night. Like, let's talk about Margot Robbie for Barbie that just came out, which she saw and said was amazing, and I'm going to see next week.
Definitely see it.
Basically, these actors, yes, are getting paid a huge lump sum for the contract of the movie that they're doing. So Margot Robbie for Barbie, she got paid a shit ton of money. I'm so sure of it. And deserved. Absolutely. She's not getting pennies like background actors. We understand. She's making great money.
Yeah.
But it does cover all her appearances for the show, her time,
all interviews, all red carpets, publicity in general.
And so what's the one thing that they can do for AI is great background artists they can use, but they can also do that for Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
So in 50 years, 100 years, put her face on a cereal box.
I mean, there's so many like crazy
paying
things
for her to use it again.
That these huge networks make so much money. Like, I'll go into something I know really well. Like, obviously, I don't know an actor's contract that well, but I can assume. But costume designers who design a movie or a show, let's go into just pretty much film, will design costumes for a film. They get paid weekly to do the costumes for that film. Then certain networks can sell those costumes that they're making as, like, I don't know, Halloween costumes, like Harry Potter costumes. They can sell for the next 30 years.
Like a replica
of those costumes as like Halloween costumes for kids.
Literally Harry Potter.
Let's say Harry Potter as one of the many instances that costume designer doesn't see a fucking penny.
That's a great point.
I know. And this goes to a prop designer who will make an amazing prop. I don't know. They made this specific wand for Harry. I'm sorry, I keep going to Harry Potter, but I'm just using that as an example. They can sell replicas of that forever, which every right to do. That prop, I'm pretty sure, that prop guy is never seeing a dime of that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so our creative work, just like an actor, is amazing in this moment and we get paid for the moment. But then these networks are making gajillion dollars off of this and never. And it's just at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying that I need to make that money. I get it. It's your intellectual property. Fine. But then don't maybe fight when I say, like, hey, maybe you deserve an extra 2 hours less of work a week. Or maybe that actor deserves to get an actual raise, because most actors we're seeing all over Instagram don't make enough to get health insurance.
Yeah.
So actors you're seeing on these shows, besides the Brad Pitts of the world, don't make enough money to have health insurance.
Yeah, I saw something interesting. I think it was an actor from Gilmore Girls. They posted, how you can do the green screen on TikTok or whatever. They were like, I just want to let you guys know that I worked however many years on Gilmore Girls. I'm at best a C-list actor. I haven't really worked since then. Gilmore Girls just made a huge resurgence on streaming network that was. And they go, I'm going to show you what I've made from that. And they went into their cast and crew. It was like it was 4 cents, 9 cents, 13 cents,
$1.
And they scrolled through years of their checks that are coming in.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just seems a little unfair that the streaming service is making all this money from.
Yeah.
And it was sold probably to that streaming service for a large amount of money.
Oh, I mean, the streaming services pay an astronomical amount of money to get a show, Seinfeld, that hasn't aired in 30-something years. They pay the network a shit ton of money to then have it on their streaming service. Mm-hmm. Every right to do, and that's awesome. And thank you, because I love that show.
Yeah.
And many of these shows, and all of us want to watch it, and it's so great that we can also watch shows that were amazing 30 years ago that maybe you never saw. Yeah. But why shouldn't the writer who wrote that show that we love see some of that money that they wrote that? That's their talent and their creativity.
Technology is great. It's amazing. I'm glad we have the opportunity to watch this and see this, but the people are still great too.
Yeah. And I'm not even saying that they should get it all and that the CEO shouldn't get a penny. I'm saying, how about just share the wealth a little bit? Maybe you don't need to make 4,000% more than your average employee.
It's a real number, not made up.
That's a real number.
It's a real number, not made up.
And this is not just in the film industry.
Yeah.
This is a problem, I think,
Great
happening
point. Yeah. 100%.
in our country, period.
I wish we could talk for 5 more hours about this.
Also, again, I just want to make it known
No one is going to hold you to it.
that I'm not a contract lawyer.
But she is a doctor and a firefighter.
But I am a doctor, a firefighter, a paramedic, and a lawyer.
I really, 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 really wish we could talk for so much longer about this because
You're obsessed with me?
I'm obsessed with you. But I need your wine of the week, and then we have to go because we have to go, and Cinqo has to go.
So this could be anything? Wine of the week?
It can be anything. It can be, I mean, we've been whining all episode, of course, but
Yeah.
it can be life. It can be
Well, I did just fly
dating.
here. And I will say, one of my biggest pet peeves, which I guess is a wine of the week,
Yeah.
when you're getting on an airplane,
Okay.
everybody, please listen up. When you are getting on an airplane, you know they call like boarding groups?
Yeah.
Boarding group 1, boarding group 2.
Yeah.
Usually I'm like 3 or 4 because I'm not in the priority people, whatever. If you're group fucking 9, why are you standing at the gate? Move aside so people can pass you. I literally getting here from Charlotte, North Carolina, there was a huge line and I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay. They called my group. I'm like, okay, this is the line to get in. Okay. Then they called the next group. I'm like, why would they call the next group when there's still 25 of us in line? That's crazy. No, I realized there's a man blocking the fucking gate because he's in group 9, not group 4, like I am. And everyone thinks he's in line. So I finally walk up to him and I'm like, excuse me, sir, are you in line? And he's like, oh no, I'm group 9. And I'm like, can you not be standing in front of the
Did you
gate?
say that?
And he just stared at me like I was he's like, what?
Was
The
it
plane
his
is
first
not
time flying?
the plane is not going to leave without you probably. Like, I mean, they will, but if you're far away, but if you're standing right there, you're not going to miss your boarding group. Also, you have a reserve seat. I'm not sure if you're aware, but you have a reserve seat. No one's sitting in your seat.
Even on
No one's
Southwest,
taking
where you
your
don't have an
seat.
actual seat, you will get on the plane.
You will get on the
You
plane.
are in a boarding group.
You will have a seat. You're not going to get on there and say, oh, they're out of seats. Oh, well, it's never happened.
Yeah.
So that's my wine of the week. Move
That's
out of the
fun.
fucking way.
Sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
Yeah, exactly. Also, yeah, why are you standing in general? Like, I'm always one of the last people to board a plane, unless you're Southwest, I know. But because I'm like, why do I need to sit in this small little seat buckled in when I could be getting a coffee?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It's so
So I'm walking around, and but to be honest, I do stand up before my boarding group.
Sure.
I go out to the aisleway of the huge airport, not over there, and I stand like in the middle, and I'm like getting my last stretches out for the last time before I have to get on the damn.
Yes, but you're not standing in front of the gate entrance.
Yeah.
Also, I always laugh at this, or they're rushing to be the first people in group 4 to get in. And then I'm laughing every time because I'm like, so now you're going to stand in that, what is that, like a vestibule thing?
Yeah.
Behind 40 other people to sit down? What is the rush? As long as you're there before they close the gate, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's a good one. There's so many
Also,
wines.
always and forever, Tesla drivers.
You do respond to my wines of the week, Tesla driver.
Every time. Because here's the thing, as an LA person, and I'm sorry if you drive a Tesla, but there's something that comes over you where you just become an asshole. You don't know how to drive anymore. You think you're better than people. It drives me fucking crazy. And I was saying this one.
Maybe because you're not putting into practice the art of driving that you just forget really, truly
Maybe.
the
but
rules of the road.
I once was saying this on set, and I had 2 actors that I was fully working with and standing next to start laughing and say, we drive Teslas. And I'm like, and are you an asshole? And they start laughing. And one of them, she started laughing, like literally started dying hysterically laughing. And was like, I always thought I was a good driver until, yeah, you're right. I started driving a Tesla and I thought I was better than people.
Yeah.
So she admitted it. She's a Tesla driver. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
But not
that.
sorry.
But not sorry. No, me neither. This was so fun. I'm gonna do like a whole behind the scenes Hollywood series. I think that people
okay.
will love that, and you'll have to be involved with that because I'm obsessed with you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for listening. I hope that this was educational. I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope I didn't talk too fast.
I think you're fine.
Okay.
And she's not a lawyer, and she's not a doctor, and all the things.
Did you know I've only graduated from the Good Wife School of Law and the Grey's Anatomy School of Medicine?
That's all you need in my book.
But basically, I could probably save your life and go to court for you.
Stand up on our plane as the doctor.
I object.
Thank you for tuning in, Whiners. As usual, you can follow me, Paige_. Crutcher on Instagram, Adultish Wines on Instagram. Are you public or private? Do you want people
It's
to follow
private.
you? What are you?
Oh, it's private because once an actor tagged me in something and I got 10,000 followers in one day and I got scared.
Oh my God, Zendaya follows me, no big deal. And I always get people that reach out to me and they're like, I know you're busy, but can you please?
Yep.
Can you
Oh, I've had people say, do you know where the sweater is from that Jackson Avery wore on episode 3? I'm like, oh my God.
Gotta go. No, I don't.
Yes, even if I do, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, with that said, love you all. See you next week. Bye.